Hey heroes, welcome back to my second video on how to lose weight and be super sexy. So if you missed the first video, you can check out the description below. I'll link that back to the first one, which basically talks about our diet and how that can affect our body composition by reducing fat loss and increasing muscle mass. So I also talked about the golden ratio of health, which was commonly cited as 80% of our health is determined by our diet and 20% is our exercise. But my golden ratio that I like to prescribe is, well, not prescribe, but offer is 60% comes from our diet, 30% comes from our sleep, which has been neglected in most of those ratios, and 10% is our exercise or the activities we do. Now, so today's video is about rest or sleep and how that impacts our body composition. So when it comes to rest, I mean, we all know it's important, but we don't really know how it can affect our behavior and basically our body composition, our fat loss and muscle gain. So it comes down to three different factors, or levers I like to call, that affect your body composition or your sexy ratio. And the first one is hormones. And I'll actually just list it out. So we have hormones, then we have willpower and self-control, and the last one is our body's ability to grow and repair. So let's talk about hormones. So there are two pairs of hormones I like to talk about. The first pair being GHRELIN and LEPTIN. So you can think of these hormones as like superheroes. Okay, on one hand you have the hero and one you have the villain. So the villain in this case is GHRELIN. GHRELIN is the hunger hormone. So the hormone that tells you, it's the hormone that tells your brain to start eating and start gorging on food, and you keep eating until you feel satisfied. On the other hand, we have leptin, which is the hero in our case, the satiety hormone. So the hormone that tells your body or your brain to stop eating, I'm full. So it's a constant battle between, it's funny, it's a constant battle between these two, kind of the evil guy and the hero. And they're always trying to control your appetite. So what tends to happen is when you're sleep deprived, your GHRELIN goes up, the GHRELIN levels go up and your leptin levels go down. And that is a recipe for disaster, because you tend to overeat and you keep eating because your leptin levels haven't caught up, they haven't balanced itself. So you have to keep eating until that kind of balances, until leptin overtakes or destroys it doesn't destroy it, but beats the bad guy and kind of keeps you full. So by being sleep deprived, you're essentially allowing yourself to eat more and become fat, or have high levels of fat and low levels of lean muscle mass. Now the second pair I like to talk about is cortisol and insulin. Just think of these two as two evil, one kind of like a innocent kind of guy, but then the other guy is kind of like the bad guy that influences it. So they work together and they wreak havoc in your body. So cortisol, as we know, is the stress hormone. So the hormone that kind of goes, oh my god, oh no, it closes you up, it makes you feel like you're under attack, or like, oh, I'm stressed. So when that happens, your stress hormone kind of decreases your insulin sensitivity. And what that means is that your insulin levels go up because you need more insulin to start storing things. So insulin is the storage hormone. So those two hormones go out of whack when you're sleep deprived. So your cortisol levels go up, which means your insulin levels go up, and then you store more fat essentially. And that's a big no-no when it comes to becoming sexy. You don't want to be fat. You don't want to have any fat storage at all. You want to minimal or maximize your insulin sensitivity, so you don't need to produce that much insulin. So the next factor I like to talk about is willpower. So what's interesting is a lot of research has been done and has shown that whenever you are sleep deprived, whenever subjects are sleep deprived, a part of the brain called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is basically the part of the brain around here, which controls your willpower or your self-control. So what tends to happen is that when you're sleep deprived, that area becomes deactivated or inhibited, which means you have less less self-control, sorry, and you are less likely to fend off people giving you food. You're like, oh, someone offers you some food, and you're like, oh, I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to have some anyway because I can't control myself. So willpower is a critical kind of trait you want. You want to be able to say no to food. And another interesting thing is that your insular cortex is activated. And the insular cortex is responsible for your pleasure-seeking behavior. So when that's activated, you become more pleasure-seeking. You start looking for things that make you feel good, like especially food. You start eating high-caloric food, and you might have a lot of sex. This is how kind of like addictive behaviors. You gain addictive behaviors from when this area of the brain becomes activated. So on one hand, you have decreased self-willpower, and on the other hand, you have increased pleasure-seeking behavior, which is another recipe for disaster. You're gonna eat more, and you're not going to say no. You're just gonna keep doing what makes you feel good. So that's obviously not good. Now the last area is growth and repair. So your body's ability to kind of optimize itself is impaired when you are sleep deprived. So how that works is, apart from your cortisol levels rising when you're sleep deprived, you also have less human growth hormone, which is responsible for packing on muscle or maintaining muscle, and also anti-aging and fat metabolism. So that's very important when you want to look sexy. You want to be as young as possible and as healthy and have lean muscle mass, also less fat. So we talked a lot about all these kind of factors why sleep is important. Let's look about how to kind of optimize our sleep. Now when it comes to optimizing sleep, it's really about one thing. It's about having deep quality sleep. So essentially deep sleep and REM sleep, rapid eye movement. So don't worry too much about it. The important thing is to gauge how much quality sleep you have is when you wake up. Do you feel refreshed? Do you feel like $1 million? Or do you feel sluggish and groggy and you just want to fall asleep again? So that's kind of the best way to measure it. Instead of, I use one of these to kind of track my sleep so I can kind of see what helps me improve my deep quality sleep. But the best way to do it is kind of just, do you feel invigorated when you wake up? So let's talk about some strategies to optimize this deep sleep you could get. So 3 different tips I can give you that I found are very effective. And the first one being reduce blue light exposure. So if you know anything about light, it comes in a spectrum. So anything from blue to shortwave blue light to longwave red light. So the way to think about it is that blue light is very short, and it's very low amplitude. So it goes like this. It's very erratic. It's full of energy. On the other hand, we have red light, which goes like this. It's very slow and very long wavelengths. And if you think about it, if you're constantly getting exposed to blue light, so all this erratic energy, it's basically stimulating your brain. It's making you very stimulated. Just call it stimulated. And it's very hard to sleep when you're constantly just all over the place. You're all erratic and all crazy. So the real science behind it is that blue light basically mimics daylight, and when that happens, it turns off your sleep mechanism, which is the production of melatonin, which is also called the sleep hormone, or the vampire hormone, whatever you want to call it. And that is essential to get deep quality sleep because it helps just mellow out. It helps you just slow down and just relax and slow down the activation of your brain activity, and also help prepare your body for all those repairing mechanisms. Now, things such as the problem is that we are constantly exposed to blue light all the time. For instance, our mobile phones, our laptops, fluorescent lights. So the real strategy here is to reduce as much of this pollution, blue light pollution, as possible. So one way to do it is to stop using these kind of technologies before you sleep. So around 2 to 3 hours before, just stop using these. I mean, it's hard, but after a while you start getting used to not using it. Another way, a much easier way, is to kind of especially with new phones, there's options where you can turn on a blue light filter, especially new phones, and you can do this. I kind of just leave mine on all the time so I don't get exposed to blue light any time of the day. So this is kind of a good way to stop exposing yourself to blue light. And for laptops or computers, you can install this program called Flux, which I'll leave a link below as well. And you download it, and it automatically adjusts your screen, and it turns on a blue light filter. So around a few hours before or after sunset and before you sleep. And all these kind of reduction in blue lights help you actually have a better sleep. And I've noticed that whenever I get exposed to fluorescent lights or using my computer a lot just before I sleep, my quality of sleep suffers. So that's really important. Always be mindful of the amount of blue light exposure you get. Now, the second strategy is to adopt a regular sleep routine. And what that means is it's very simple. Teach yourself to sleep at a certain time and wake up at a certain time. And that might sound a bit hard in the beginning, but your body loves habits, it loves routines, and the more you do something, the more it becomes ingrained into you, and it just becomes natural after a while. So, and it's also, this is very effective because once you teach your body, you give yourself your body a kind of habit, it allows it to start repairing itself, start healing itself, doing the normal things that's it's supposed to do when it sleeps. And the reason why a lot of people don't have quality sleep is because they have disrupted their sleeping patterns or their circadian rhythms, and due to having shift work or having a deadline and just sleeping at all different hours. It's like you might sleep 11 p.m, then you might sleep 3 a.m, and then your body's confused. It doesn't know what to do, so it can't really adjust to this. It can't adjust its circadian rhythms properly. So a great way of having a regular sleep pattern or routine is to set an alarm for sleep. So maybe you want to set an alarm at 10 p.m. just to remind yourself to sleep at 11 p.m. And obviously you can have an alarm when you want to wake up. So by doing that, you teach your body to just say, okay, it's 10 p.m. now, I should start slowing down and just winding down and start to sleep. And then over time, it just becomes natural. So this is kind of like creating a sleep ritual. So you can start doing things that help induce relaxation, because relaxation is very important when you want a good night quality sleep. You don't want to be constantly stimulated. So things like not drinking or consuming any caffeine, maybe they advise around 6 hours before. Having a warm bath, that's also great for relaxing the muscles and helping you have a better sleep. Meditation, reading a book. So things like that anchor the experience. It anchors the experience of sleeping. It tells your body that, okay, I'm going to do these things. So each time I do these things, it means that the next thing that is going to happen is that I'm going to fall asleep. So the more you create these rituals or routines, the better you are to create this pattern or this basically good sleep. You just teach your body to sleep properly, which a lot of people don't know how to, which is strange. Anyway, so the next one is to create a sleep-induced conducive environment. And what I mean by that is to create make your bedroom as sleep conducive as possible. So things such as noise or light will disrupt your sleep. So I remember when I lived in Manila for a little while, there was constant noise all the time, like in the background. Even though I had 8 hours of sleep, I checked my Fitbit and I realized I only had half an hour of quality sleep. So I realized it was just the noise, even if it wasn't that loud, it just kind of spikes, that incessant noise that kind of woke me up throughout the night and stopped me from going into the deeper sleep cycles. So you can use things such as earplugs if it's too loud, or I don't know, just try to make it as quiet as possible, and also make it as dark as possible, because you don't want any kind of light that can wake you up. And also you can do things like having a very comfortable mattress, good temperature, so you're not too hot or too cold. So things that help you have an awesome night's sleep is very important when you want to maximize your quality sleep, because after all, you have to be comfortable to be able to maximize the benefits of quality sleep, to get quality sleep. So there you have it. These are the kind of strategies, very simple and effective strategies that I use to maximize my deep sleep, so I can give my body the best chance it can to lose weight or lose fat and build muscle at the same time. So thank you guys for watching. I will make the next video in the next few days, and if you've got any questions, you can leave in the comments below. And as usual, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, and be sexy.